Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Nigga, this for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo, but God's got him. And I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling flows like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm playing for dust and they play too deep for beachside. Little legs I got too deep. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to hit.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw on January the 12th to Collision on January the 17th, as well as the Genesis pay-per-view for TNA and the TNA debut on AMC as well. We open with Raw. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky come out to celebrate their title win from last week. They're thrilled to be champions and are ready for anyone and everyone to come after them. So here are the Judgment Day girls of Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. Liv talks about how she never lost her title and wants it back, but Bayley and Lyra Valkyria then come out to interrupt. Bayley wants a title shot as well, but we do hear the fans chant her name. They do the hey, hey, Bayley. So they do that whole thing. Io seems ready to face all of them. So then the Kabuki Warriors come out and we have a big brawl, and eventually the champs end up on top. So Io and Rhea end up in the ring with all their combatants on the outside. We then go to AJ Styles. He says he's ready for Gunther tonight and is pretty pumped up and serious about tonight's big match against Gunther. Finn Balor is in the back playing video games in the Judgment Day Clubhouse. Liv Morgan comes in and yells at him for not being serious enough, and Roxanne seems to agree that Finn needs to step up and be more serious. We then get Javon Evans defeating Bravo Americano via pinfall following the OG cutter. After the match, the rest of the Americanos go after Javon, who is able to evade their attacks and kind of escape without too much harm. We then go to Adam Pearce. He tells Paul Heyman to inform Braun Breaker to go home if he's going to have bad intentions tonight. Heyman doesn't care to be a messenger boy, but seems to agree that Braun probably needs to cool his jets. We then get CM Punk coming out for a promo. He talks about how he's going to be champion for a long time, and the people here make him believe that he can do anything. After surviving against Braun Breaker a couple weeks ago, or last week, I should say, he's looking forward to finding out his next challenger. Finn Balor comes out, says he's not waiting for the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber. He heard Punk say he wanted to face Balor, so now he wants a title shot. Punk likes the idea because he is a big fan of Finn Balor. He is a fighting champion today, so he'll get his boots on for a match tonight. Balor says no because next week it will be in Belfast, and that is where he will take his title match. Punk is fine with that, but apologizes to the fan of Belfast for what is going to happen to Finn next week. We then get a video on tonight's match between Gunther and AJ Styles, just kind of what's happened between them over the last few weeks, ever since the Cena retirement. We then go to a match where Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez defeat Lyra Valkyria and Bayley, as well as the Kabuki Warriors, when Liv is able to hit Oblivion on Kyrie. We then have Becky Lynch in the back. She recaps her issues with Maxine Dupree before they face off once again next week in Belfast. Maxine gets her side of things in, and she's ready to beat Becky Lynch once again. She tells Otis and Akira Tozawa that they can be as successful as she is, and Maxine promises to make Becky tap out once again next week. We then have Raquel Rodriguez. She comes out to have an interview time with Michael Cole. Raquel isn't sorry for attacking Stephanie Vaquer last week and hurting her ankle further. Vaquer then comes out to chase Raquel away, but Vaquer kind of starts to pose to the camera. Raquel comes back out, jumps her, and then goes after her injured ankle once again. We then go back to Otis and Akira Tozawa in the back. They are talking about a tag team title shot with Jey Uso. Jey says he'll talk to his brother, but he tells them to be careful what they ask for, as they're basically asking to face the greatest tag team in WWE history. We then have Penta and Dragon Lee. They defeat the Vision via DQ when Braun Breaker comes out and spears Dragon Lee absolutely out of his boots on the outside of the ring. There was a ridiculous camera angle of this spot. I think it was just the replay. It wasn't actually that way live, but it's just Braun sprinting down the entranceway, and he eventually just runs and creams poor Dragon Lee. But after the match, Adam Pearce comes out to yell at Braun Breaker, leaving Bronson Reed to kind of take out the luchadors. Adam Pearce goes to yell at Bronson Reed as well, allowing Breaker to hit another spear. Breaker even grabs Pearce at one point, with the Vision having to kind of pull him away. And even Paul Heyman seems to think that maybe Braun went a little too far this time. When we come back from a commercial break, Javon Evans checks on Rey Fenix and Dragon Lee as well. Or he checks on Penta and Dragon Lee, I'm sorry, saying he's there if he needs them. So if they need some help, he will be there to help them. Adam Pearce yells at Braun Breaker backstage, says he's going to suspend him indefinitely. Paul Heyman comes in to say that was a mistake because from Heyman's vantage point, Pearce put his hands on Braun Breaker first, which makes Pearce kind of pause and think about maybe that he did the wrong thing. We then get our weekly video of Oba Femi kind of hyping him up once again. Obviously, I think he'll kind of debut in the Rumble, and they'll continue to do these kind of hype packages till he arrives. Gunther then laughs at the idea that anybody thinks that AJ Styles can beat him tonight. And then we go to our main event, which is Gunther versus AJ Styles, and Gunther gets the win. He actually had tapped to the calf crusher at one point, but the ref did not see it, which makes AJ Styles kind of let go. And then Gunther is able to sneak a low blow in on AJ, and then he hits the powerbomb and pins him for the win. AJ is pissed after the match as Gunther kind of walks away, grinning, knowing that he just got away with highway robbery to end the show. That was absolutely the best match of the night. Just another kind of basic Raw, kind of just continuing to build to the Royal Rumble. Not a ton in the way of matches per se, a lot of exposition and talking and stuff like that, but obviously set up a couple of matches for next week, Maxine and Becky and Punk and Balor. So we'll see if Raw can bring it a little harder this week and continue to kind of push towards the Royal Rumble. But Gunther and AJ was absolutely a great match. Definitely best match of the show. And as much as AJ says he's going to retire this year, he is definitely still got it, and he seems to be pumping and going in all cylinders. So I think he's still got a lot to give. But if it's time for him to retire, that's more than fine, as he's given a lot to the business. But we will go from there to NXT. We open with a recap of New Year's Evil from last week. Ava is then in the ring with the NXT Championship as Oba Femi relinquished it last week after his win over Leon Slater. The rest of the roster is around the ring. She says there is no better moment than right now to be in NXT. But Ricky Saints comes out as soon as she says this. Ricky Saints takes credit for running a lot of people around in a lot of people out of NXT, but he sees some future champions around the ring. He's ready to get the championship right now, though that isn't happening. Ava then instead announces that there will be a 6-way ladder match on February 3rd for the title. She says qualifying matches will start next week, and then the whole roster basically brawls. And Keanu Carter from Evolve gets a good showing here. He wrecks quite a few people, tosses quite a few people around, and he's kind of the guy that ends up standing tall at the end. So he was in one of the top prospect tournaments or whatever they used to call them a couple of years ago, and he was pretty impressive. I think he lost. I think he ended up losing in the first round or maybe the second round, but he's kind of Oba Femi-esque, I would say. Obviously, he's another African-American wrestler, but he's a big bruiser, kind of big, huge, kind of monstrous athlete. So he's kind of got some Oba Femi vibes to him, but he's been very impressive on what I've seen of him in Evolve. So, but yeah, he definitely stood out here. He was kind of the guy standing tall at the end of the brawl. So we'll see how he kind of does, if he qualifies for this ladder match, or if he has a good showing in his qualifying match, if he does have one. So But we come back from commercial break, and Ava is on the phone with someone who says they will be here tonight. Tony D'Angelo kind of walks by in the background, kind of skulking. And Robert Stone comes up to tell Ava that Blake Monroe has something to say tonight in the ring. We then get Lola Vice defeating Kalani Jordan via pinfall following a spinning back fist. We then get a Tavion Heights promo, says he's ready to take the speed title. And Jasper kind of gets his rebuttal and says he disagrees and says he's going to continue to be the men's speed champion. Jasper ends up being right. He defeats Tavion Heights via pinfall following a black hole slam. After the match, Lexus King, who Tavion had defeated to get to this match, runs in and takes Tavion out from behind. We then go to Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray. They get in an argument with Sol, Ruka, and Zarya over who should face JC Jane next. 4 of them go into Ava's office where Fatal Influence is already there. Ava has talked to Santino Marella, and an NXT team is going to get a Knockouts tag team title shot. And next week, these 3 teams will face each other to see who the number 1 contender is. And then they continue to argue who's the best, why they deserve the shot, blah, blah, blah. We then go to Lexus King in the back. He talks to Chase Yu, who says that was a teachable moment, what just happened. And kind of Andre Chase disagrees and says that's what not to do. Stax comes in to praise Lexus for what he did. Obviously, they're kind of part of the NXT Outlaws together on TNA. And then Chase Yu kind of leaves in disgust. We then have Miles Bourne. He really wants one of the qualifying matches for the ladder match, and Robert Stone says he will do his best to talk to Ava to get him a shot. We then get video on our French luchador that will be joining us next week, Elio Lafleur. It says he's coming soon, but he ends up getting a match for next week, so we will see him on next week's episode. Ethan Page asked Ava about his NXT title qualifying match. She says he's not in one. She'll change her mind, but it would cost him the North American title. He would have to give that over to her. Page brags about his success as the champion, and Ava agrees he's been a great champion. And then she says he's such a great champion that next week he will be defending the North American title against Elio Lafleur, who will make his debut. We then get the Blake Monroe promo. She comes out. She says last week she was ready to win her title back, but instead she attacked Thea Hale. Everything was changed like she was a problem. But the reality is that someone as talented as she is always gets the narrative changed. No one compares to her, and everything she does has everyone in a frenzy. There are all kinds of stars here, and Jada Parker answers the call pretty much and says that she's that star. This is kind of her return. She's been gone for a minute. Jada gets a big ovation when she comes out. She goes right after Blake Monroe. Jada sends her into the corner. And then hits her with the hypnotic to knock her to the floor onto the ground. So we'll obviously see some kind of Jada Parker Blake Monroe match pretty soon, which I'm pretty pumped for because Jada's definitely one of the higher risers of the division, and Blake obviously is a huge star. We then go to Shiloh Hill. He talks about bringing a bunch of flying squirrels into his house when he was a child, and he wants a shot at the TNA International Championship that Stax has. We then get video on Dark State. They brag about their dominance and insist that no one is safe in NXT as long as they are around. We then have that match between Shiloh Hill and Stax. Stax wins via pinfall when Shiloh has Stax pinned, but Ariana Grace is able to interfere and help Stax reverse into a roll-up of his own, and he gets the 3 count. We then get Izzy Dame. She comes out to cut a promo with her culling mates. She welcomes us to the new reality of the division, and she won't give us the same tired story about stumbling into success. This was all calculation, outsmarting everyone else. What did you think she was going to do with that loss last week? The culling has always been about getting rid of the worst, and that is what she did. We hear about some people coming for the title, but Dame isn't interested in any of them. If you come for the title, you are walking into a trap. And then Tatum Paxley comes in to brawl with Izzy Dame, and Dame ends up kind of bailing when she realizes she's in trouble. We then get Ricky Saints. He has cooled off, and he's apparently already in the ladder match. He doesn't have to qualify. I guess obviously as a former champion. He mentioned Shiloh Hill getting a qualifying match, which doesn't sit well with Stax, who obviously just defeated him. And then Lexis King comes up to Stax and says that they should talk, obviously maybe about NXT Outlaw business or maybe revolting against Ava as the general manager. We then get informed that Tatum Paxley has been ejected from the building for what she did. She actually attacked some refs as well and some security when she was going after Izzy earlier. We then get informed the Vanity Project of Jackson Drake, Brad Baylor, and Ricky Smokes are officially part of the NXT roster, and they are ready to win. We go to a kind of a promo moment for Keanu Carver. He says he's not ready to talk right now, and he's all about action. So obviously we'll see more from him going forward. And then we get Joe Hendry defeating Dion Lennox in the main event via pinfall when Tony D'Angelo comes out, gets involved, ends up laying both of them out, but he ends up throwing Joe Hendry on top of Lennox, and that is how he gets the pinfall. After the match, Ava sends security out to take D'Angelo down, but D'Angelo ends up beating them all down and it ends the show standing tall. So as far as best match for NXT for me, I would go with Lola and Kalani. Hendry and Lennox was good as well, but I would go overall with the women. I thought they kind of laid it all out there and had a pretty good contest to kind of open the in-ring action for the night. So I would give it to the girls on that one. We'll then go to Dynamite. Samoa Joe starts the show with a promo. He wants to deal with Hangman Page, but he needs to get ready to defend the trio's titles, which will happen on Collision. He says tonight, therefore, he's putting a bounty out on Hangman Page's head, and Brian Keith is the one who is here to collect on it. We then open with a match between Darby Allin and Pac. Darby Allin wins via submission with the Scorpion Deathlock. We then get Hangman Page versus Brian Keith, where Hangman Page defeats Brian Keith via pinfall following the buckshot lariat. After the match, Page rants about Samoa Joe not being a man and not being man enough to fight him. Swerve Strickland had come out and says they are coming for MJF 2 because they want to be back on top of the business. Kenny Omega then comes out saying that they are three of the greatest challengers for the world title, and they're all in the ring right now together. Omega took pride in being called the god of professional wrestling, and he knows he has to win some matches to get a world title shot. He looks at Hangman and Swerve and says he's going for the title, with Hangman saying, if they cross paths, may the best man win. Page and Omega shake hands, but Swerve just kind of glares at Kenny, doesn't seem to respect him. Swerve and Hangman leave, and here is the Don Callis family to interrupt. Callis says if Omega needs to win matches, he should face Josh Alexander. Kenny seems okay with that and is ready to go tonight. Josh says he's ready to go too, but Don Callis says not so fast. We will do it next week. We then get Brody King. In the back, he runs into John Cruz, who says, don't let Bandito punch him in the face anymore. That's fine with Brody King and says it'll actually be his turn to punch him in the face as they have a match next. And then Brody King beats John Cruz in about 40 seconds, finishing him off with the Gonzo Bomb. After the match, Brody King tells Bandito to win the world title tonight, and then it would be his honor to face Bandito for the AEW World Championship when he wins. We then get video of that match for later on tonight, MJF versus Bandito for the AEW Championship. We then get two members of the Don Callis family, Mark Davis and Jake Doyle. They win a four-way tag match, defeating the Gates of Agony, Jet Speed, and the Young Bucks, when Davis is able to hit a pretty nasty pile driver on Kevin Knight. And this gets them a future tag team championship match. So FTR comes out for a brawl, and they kind of it's kind of between all of the teams, but FTR is kind of focusing on their seemingly new challenges of Mark Davis and Jake Doyle. We then go to the back. Skyflight is ready to face the Don Callis family on Collision later this week. We then get the Triangle of Madness of the Sisters of Sin and Tekla. They defeat the Babes of Wrath and Chris Statlander when Tekla is able to actually hit a spear and a curb stomp on Chris Statlander for the win. So obviously that seemingly puts Tekla in the number one contender spot for Statlander's AEW Women's World Title. We then see Swerve Strickland giving Jet Speed a pep talk. With Swerve gone, Hangman Page comes in and says he is going to be their trios partner to take on the Ops on Collision this week for the trios title. So we will see Hangman and Jet Speed take on Joe, Hobbs, and Shibata for the trios championships coming up on Saturday. We then get informed that the Rascals from TNA will be joining AEW, and we will see them on Collision as well. And then we go to our main event where MJF defeats Bandito via technical submission when Bandito passes out in the LaBelle lock. So doesn't tap, but he does pass out. After the match, MJF agrees that Bandito will be world champion sometime, but not as long as he is around. He says he does respect him, but he is the world champion, so he has to do this, and starts to beat him down and continue to kind of beat up on him until Brody King comes out and makes the save to end the show. So obviously I think we might be headed towards another MJF Bandito match, or maybe a future match between Brody and MJF. So we'll see where that kind of leads. But MJF seems like he was trying to be a good guy there at the end, but ends up beating him up after the match when he's obviously still recovering from the match that they just had. But that was obviously best match of the night. Anytime MJF can wrestle on TV, it's usually probably going to be one of the better matches, if not the best, on the show. And Bandito's been killing it, all of 2025, and is continuing to put on great stuff here in 2026. So we'll move on from there to the Impact debut on AMC. We get an opening video that shows most of the big stars in the company right now. Talks about how they worked very hard and very long to get to a spot like this. We open with AJ Styles, obviously not opening with one of their stars, so maybe not the smartest move, but he was a big star for TNA for a long time. He comes up first, says he's going to keep this short and sweet because we have some wrestling to do here tonight. He wants the fans to keep the energy going that they have right now, because the fans here are TNA and support TNA more and better than anybody else in the world. So just kind of a hype, to come out and hype the crowd to get things started. So not a bad way to start. But we then go to a 6-man tag where the Hardys and Elijah defeat Order 4 via pinfall when Matt hits the twist of fate on John Skyler, and then Jeff follows it with the swanton for the pin. After the match, Agent Zero of Order 4 comes in and lays out the winners, but the Righteous come in to save the Hardy Boys. Then the Righteous actually end up jumping the Hardys, and they even chain Jeff by his gauge hole in his ear to the rope in the ring. And Vincent ends up hitting a swanton on Matt to leave him laying. So Jeff's just kind of there, chained to the rope by his gauge hole in his ear. So it was pretty kind of brutal spot there. We then go to the back. Frankie Kazarian is ready for the main event, but AJ Styles comes in to cut him off. Kazarian tells AJ that he should thank Kazarian for the house that he is in tonight. Styles then looks at the TNA World title, thanks Frankie, and leaves. We then get video on the X Division and its history. Kind of talks about Leon Slater, who's the champion currently, and all of the great champions of the past and all the crazy, awesome things that they can do. Ultimate X, they kind of talk about just anything and everything to do with the X Division and its entire history throughout the company. We then hear from some people in the front row. Mara Sade is there. Candice Michelle from WWE that randomly was still there. Ryan Nemeth comes in and interrupts. He ends up accidentally crotching himself on the barricade and gets chopped from some AMC stars that they had in the front row as well. I believe some of the actors were from I recognize one of the guys was from Yellowstone, but I think a couple other guys were from some AMC shows. I'm not super familiar. I didn't pay super duper attention to this whole segment, mostly because it was just Ryan Nemeth, and I don't really care about him. But yeah, he got chopped by some actors from some shows on AMC. We then go to Santino Marella. He's a little more peppy than he has been in recent weeks. He's happy about what is going on here, but he has been upset by what has happened with his daughter as of late. There are a lot of responsibilities, so he is getting an assistant, and she comes out, and it is the former Sonya Deville, now going by Daria Ray. She praises Santino and hypes up the move to AMC, and then says TNA, though, has had so much success, and Santino's part of it. TNA no longer needs Santino with all of his stupid jokes and his way of management. Daria knows she can do the job better because her name is Daria Ray, and she is the suit. She has even gone as far to sign a new knockout, and it is going to be Elena Black, and that is the former Cora Jade. So Cora Jade, obviously of former NXT fame, now going by Elena Black, is going to be our newest knockout. So I assume she'll get a pretty big push as we start this AMC era. We then go to AJ Styles. He's in the back with Mike Santana. He gives him a pep talk, and Mike Santana is grateful for him being here and him saying all the nice words that he said to him, and they kind of dap it up. And Mike Santana continues to kind of focus in and get in the right headspace for his world title match later on. We then go to the Elegance brand. They're in the ring with the personal concierge, and of all people, Perez Hilton is also there. Hilton insults the crowd, and the concierge introduces Mr. Elegance. He claims to be the heavier cameraman that they found last week, but he's all trimmed and muscly now. He's got a long flowing mane of hair. And he says he is going to be Mr. Elegance going forward. And he will be part of the Elegance brand. And he's going to be a big star in this company going forward. We then have the Elegance brand of Heather and M by Elegance. They defeat the Inspiration when Mr. Elegance interferes, and Maggie by Elegance, or M by Elegance, rolls up Cassie Lee, and the Elegance brand are once again your Knockouts tag team champions. They kind of announced this on Twitter after the show, but the Inspiration are finished up with TNA now. So we'll see if Cassie and Jesse end up back in WWE, or if they go elsewhere, or if they decide to do other things. But they seemingly are done with TNA. But Heather and M by Elegance are your new Knockouts tag team champions. We then go to Ariana Grace and Stax. They aren't worried about Santino or anything that he said. Ariana Grace says she was also behind NXT invading. She's kind of the reason the NXT Outlaws have had such free reign and have been able to do what they've been able to do, because she was kind of the concierge between NXT and TNA during their agreement. We then go to Indy Hartwell. She is talking about her childhood dream of being, and then she gets interrupted. She was going to say being Knockouts champion, I'm guessing. But the Elegance brand interrupts her and says it's time for their championship celebration. We go from here, and we get a video on the Knockouts title, talking about its history over the years, that it started with kind of Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, and all the other great champions throughout the years, Mickey James, other great champions, but it kind of shows you the history of the Knockouts division and all that good stuff. We then go to Santino again, once again in the ring, I should say. Brings out the current Knockouts champion, Lei Ying Lee, and her tag team partner, Zaya Brookside. Danny Luna, who has been built up as kind of her challenger for the last few weeks, is not going to be able to be at Genesis due to some visa issues. They have quite a few people. Leon Slater, another one that had some visa issues, that's not going to be able to be at Genesis either. So we'll talk about that as we go, obviously. So the fact that Danny Luna can't be at Genesis means it's open challenge time. Sol Ruka and Zarya then come out from NXT, with Sol basically kind of implying that she's going to be the one to take on Lei Ying Lee, but then she says that Zarya will actually be the one taking on Lei Ying Lee for the Knockouts Championship at Genesis, and Zarya signs the contract. She seems very grateful that Sol passed the opportunity on to her. So we'll see if Zarya is able to be successful, or if Lei Ying Lee is able to retain. We then get video on the world title, the TNA world title. Obviously, kind of the same thing with all the other belts that they've kind of hyped up. Just the history, the great champions, AJ, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Christian Cage. All the great superstars of the past that have been your world champions. It just kind of gives a history of all that. We then go to Santino. He's in the back with Cedric Alexander. He again kind of mentions that Leon Slater can't be at Genesis due to visa issues. Therefore, Cedric will get his X Division title shot down the line, but for now, he is in a three-way match with Moose, and that guy who can appear when you say his name takes it Cedric Alexander to figure it out a little bit, and then Santino eventually just says Joe Hendry's name, and then out of nowhere, Joe Hendry calls on Cedric Alexander's phone because obviously he wasn't there live to pop up when they said his name, so pretty funny little bit there, but Joe Hendry, Moose, and Cedric Alexander will have a three-way match at Genesis just for kind of the hell of it because obviously Leon can't be there to defend his X Division championship. We then get this system coming out to cut a promo. Eddie Edwards is ready to face JDC in JDC's retirement match at Genesis. The system come out to cut a promo. Eddie Edwards is ready to face JDC in his retirement match at Genesis. JDC isn't done, though, as he'll be in the ring live next week to announce the newest member of the system. As for Genesis, Eddie better be ready to pull the trigger, or JDC will. So Moose and Brian Myers don't get much edgewise in here, but they all kind of hug to symbolize that this is kind of their last time as a foursome, as the group of the system. We then get video of Frankie Kazarian and Mike Santana's rivalry to this point, with Nick Nemeth teasing a cash-in of his Call Your Shot Gauntlet trophy. So we'll see if that ends up happening at Genesis or tonight. We then get the TNA president, Carlos Silva. He brings in Dixie Carter, of all people. She gets booed pretty heavily, but does put over TNA and her kind of role in their history, and that she was happy to have ever been involved with TNA. Bully Ray then comes out, who was the person that kind of ended Dixie's run. He kind of comes out and gives her a hug, and he ends up doing commentary on the main event for tonight. And Mike Santana defeats Frankie Kazarian via pinfall following a spin the block to become your new two-time TNA World Champion. Commentary then points out that they will have a rematch at Genesis, and it will be a Texas death match. Nick Nemeth actually is going to end up being the guest referee for that match. So they kind of announced that after the match ends. But pretty incredible match. I think the match at the pay-per-view ends up being a little better. But as far as match of the night, I would go with Santana and Kazarian. Not the greatest debut, I would say. A lot of people panned it pretty hard, actually. But I think it did enough to kind of announce some new characters. It gave a good snapshot of their history, presented AJ at the beginning. So maybe not the greatest debut of a TV show, but I thought it did enough to be considered fine. I don't think it was anything spectacular or anything like that, but you're not often going to get spectacular with Impact, honestly. So I think it was perfectly fine. Good main event. And hopefully they will continue to push forward into the future and be even better going forward. But we'll go from there to SmackDown. We open with the recap of Drew McIntyre winning the world title last week when Jacob Fatu got involved. McIntyre comes out. He's actually played to the ring by some bagpipers, but he comes out to cut his first promo as the new champion. He takes his sweet time with his entrance, obviously posing, being introduced as WWE champion in front of fans for the first time. He says he prayed for this and it happened. He's still the first and only British WWE champion. Talks about how no one did anything for him when he was champion. There was only one person who believed in him, and that was himself. McIntyre wants the fans to cheer for him before talking about the former champion, and he loves saying former champion, Cody Rhodes. There is no rematch clause, so he'll be the champion for a long time. Randy Orton then comes out to interrupt. Orton talks about beating McIntyre before, so he knows he can do it again. Jacob Fatu comes in now and goes to chase McIntyre through the crowd, but The Miz, of all people, comes up and sneaks behind Orton and hits him with the skull-crushing finale. And they will actually have the first qualifying match for the number one contender fatal four-way for Saturday night's main event, and Randy Orton will defeat The Miz via pinfall following the RKO. So obviously he's the first entrant in the fatal four-way for the title shot at the Royal Rumble. We then go to the back, and Drew McIntyre is kind of anxious, trying to leave with his championship, but runs into Ilya, who has a qualifying match later. Ilya promises to be one step closer to facing McIntyre for the championship after tonight. And then Drew says he'll beat him too, but he has to get out as fast as he can right now. We then have the Wyatt Six. They are not wild about Solo Sikoa and the MFTs taking Uncle Howdy's lantern, but they will do anything and everything they can to get it back. We then go to Charlotte. She comes up to see Alexa Bliss, with Bliss ranting about how terrible things went for her last week when Charlotte wasn't around. She wants to know if Charlotte was really sick, which Charlotte insists was absolutely the case. Charlotte says she's turned down a bunch of title matches for the good of their team. Alexa Bliss then says, name 2 times. Charlotte says, that's not the point. She says she's here now, though, and she's stretching before her match. Alexa leaves, and Nia and Lash Legend come up to gloat about how they took out Alexa last week. Charlotte isn't pleased and makes some threats, and then says that Lash Legend has changed. So I don't really know what that means, but that's what she said. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss then defeat Julia and Kiana James when Bliss hits the Sister Abigail DDT on Kiana. After the match, Nia Jax and Lash Legend run in to attack Charlotte and Alexa, with Julia and Kiana getting in Nia and Lash's face after the beatdown kind of happened. Solo Sikoa then says if the Wyatts want the lantern back, they can put the tag team titles on the line against the MFTs. We then have Cody Rhodes. He comes out for a promo. He would normally be a lot more chipper, but he is no longer the champion. He says he was champion, and he saw the fans as his teammates. He wasn't just the company's champion, but he was their champion. But now he's got too complacent. But maybe it was Drew McIntyre was just too good for him that night. He then brings up the Royal Rumble, and since this is a special city that he was in, he is declaring himself for the Royal Rumble. With that out of the way, he gets to Jacob Fatu, who Rhodes knew was going to be something special. Rhodes knows Fatu is a young veteran, and that means that he knows what a receipt means. Fatu can either come out here now and get what is coming to him, or he can stay in the back and Rhodes can find him. We then go to Matt Cardona, who's in the back. He's disappointed that Cody lost last week because he wanted to wrestle one of his best friends for the WWE Championship, but he came back here to this company to make sure he wins that championship. He would have been one step closer, but he does get defeated by Trick Williams. Trick Williams defeats Matt Cardona via pinfall following the Trick shot, and Trick gets another one of the spots in the Fatal 4-Way at Saturday night's main event. After the match, Kit Wilson comes out and attacks Matt Cardona, and they kind of show him staying in the ring after he had attacked Matt. Damian Priest, then in the back, is ready to face Solo Sikoa and get his spot in the Fatal 4-Way, but he knows it won't be one-on-one. He also knows that he has to get to Drew McIntyre, and he will have him one-on-one for the title. And he knows he can beat him because he has before. We then come back from commercial. Kit Wilson is still in the ring, says he is the solution to the problem around here. He is going to solve toxic masculinity, but Jacob Fatu pops up behind him. Jacob absolutely destroys him. He calls out Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes then comes out. They brawl for a little bit. Security and Nick Aldis try to keep them apart, but they continue to kind of get at each other and continue to attack each other. So a little bit of a brawl, maybe not the all-out brawl that it could have been, but they didn't hold back whatsoever. We then go to Damian Priest. He defeats Solo Sikoa via pinfall following the South of Heaven. This again qualifies him for the number one contender Fatal 4-Way, so that he gets the third spot. After the match, Priest kind of bails, and Uncle Howdy gets his lantern back, but Tama Tonga is able to attack him from behind, so the MFTs end up taking it back. Drew McIntyre then runs into Sami Zayn, bragging that Zayn has never beaten him. Zayn promises to win twice in a row so he can go to the Royal Rumble and face Drew McIntyre again and beat him like he knows that he can. We then get our U.S. title open challenge match tonight. Carmelo Hayes defeats Leon Slater. Obviously, they're in Europe right now, so he was able to appear pretty easily there, but he wasn't obviously able to get back for the TNA shows in America. But Carmelo defeats Leon Slater when he turns a superplex attempt into a cutter from the top rope, which was a pretty devastating and cool looking move. So Carmelo retains his U.S. title. We then have Shinsuke Nakamura in the back. He is watching, but Tama Tonga kind of interrupts, saying that he's coming for the U.S. title. Tama Tonga tells Nakamura to stay out of his way, but Nakamura seems like he's not too keen on that idea. We then go to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. They have Axiom's mask with Axiom popping up. He wants the mask back, but Candice LeRae kind of walks off with it. We show another Axiom punch Gargano in the face, but obviously it's Nathan Frazier in the mask, and he wants to face Johnny Gargano next week. We get our SmackDown appearance of the Obafemi video, kind of hyping him up once again. Like I said, I think they're going to kind of continue to do this until Royal Rumble. We then get Jordynne Grace defeating Chelsea Green via pinfall following a Death Valley driver. After the match, Jordynne kind of calls out Jade Cargill. She had kind of been sitting ringside. She obviously wants to face Cargill for her women's title. But Chelsea Green accidentally decks Jade and kind of knocks her to the floor. So Jordynne ends up kind of standing tall with the championship. So we'll see when and where Jade and Jordynne kind of have their matchup, because it seems like that's what they're kind of building towards. Trick Williams then talks about putting SmackDown on notice. He did it tonight. He says that he is that dog. Damian Priest comes in to say that they're both ready for Saturday night's main event, but on Friday he will whoop that Trick. We then get our final qualifying match where Sami Zayn defeats Ilya Dragunov via pinfall following a Helluva Kick. Sami Zayn, like I said, is the final qualifier for the number one contender Fatal 4-Way at Saturday night's main event. And to kind of put a stamp on the night, Trick Williams comes out, attacks Sami Zayn, and stands tall to end the show. So they've done a pretty good job of presenting Trick Williams so far on SmackDown. I would say he won earlier. Obviously, he got a face-off with Damian Priest, and then he obviously here got the one up on Sami Zayn. So this was kind of a toss-up for best match. You could go with Zayn and Dragunov. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was quite as good as their first match, their U.S. Open Challenge match, but it was still very good. But I would go with Leon and Carmelo. They're just two of my favorite guys, and I think I probably just lean with them a little bit more right now because they've just been killing it a lot lately. So I will go with Slater versus Hayes. We will go to Collision from there to wrap up TV for the week, and then we'll go to Genesis. We open with Andrade El Idolo defeats Angelico via pinfall following the DM. So he basically does like a double arm swinging neck breaker, and it was called The Message in WWE. So he's calling it the DM in TNA or in AEW. So pretty funny little switcheroo there. We then cut to the back, and the Rascals come out of a smoky room. They introduce the team as Zachary Wentz, Myron Reed, and Desmond Xavier. I don't know if Trey Miguel just wasn't there or if he didn't come over. I think he's part of the group, but obviously it's just the three of them tonight. So Zach, Myron, and Desmond. They want to be where the best wrestle, and they've heard that that's AEW, but they would like to have some libations to themselves as well. We then have Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. They defeat the Grizzled Young Veterans when Kingston hits the DDT on James Drake. The Babes of Wrath and Chris Statlander are upset with their loss to the Triangle of Madness, with Statlander saying that she would take the bullet for them to be out there with her best friends. As for Tekla, Statlander will give her a title shot because that's what a real champion does, and she actually kind of likes the taste of toxic. We then get FTR with Stokely Hathaway. Hathaway congratulates Mark Davis and Jake Doyle on becoming number one contenders, says they have all kinds of potential. Cash Wheeler says the team is good, but they're not FTR good. Harwood, says something to Nigel McGuinness on commentary, says he doesn't like the people here because they live in a fantasy world. He doesn't have an issue with Doyle or Davis, but FTR is the team who has built this division. They grew up in North Carolina and beat up guys like Davis and Doyle over and over. Now it's time for Davis and Doyle to find out that the hard way. We then get Crew, obviously Action Andretti and Leo Rush. they want to welcome the Rascals in a way that they'll never forget. So they kind of challenge them to a match. We then get video on Zeta Steel, one of the new women's wrestlers in AEW, previously in WWE Evolve, obviously with the Vanity Project. Um, she has her first match tonight. She loses to Marina Shafir when she taps out in Mother's Milk. We then get the Don Callis family of Josh Alexander, Kyle Fletcher, and El Colon defeating Skyflight when Alexander hits an arm trap pile driver on Darius Martin. After the match, Konosuke Takeshita comes out, hugs Kyle Fletcher, and then he raises the hands of the victors of the match. We then get Roderick Strong. He is ready to win the CMLL world title from Claudio, but he doesn't want the conglomeration around him or with him there next week. Mark Briscoe then lays out a challenge to El Clone for a TNT title match on Collision. He says there's an old saying, if you're ready to conglomerate, be ready to share your plate. And whether it's English or Espanol, you best be ready to share your role. All the rest of the conglomeration seem very confused by this. Orange Cassidy's kind of the last one standing there, and he says he has no clue what that meant either. So kind of a funny little comedy bit there with Mark Briscoe. We then get Megan Bayman, Penelope Ford. They defeat Viva Van and Danielle Camella when they hit the Doomsday device on Camella. After the match, the timeless love bombs of Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa come out and promise revenge on Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. And then they remind us that God doesn't wear lipstick, obviously making fun of the fact that Megan Bayne kind of presents herself as a goddess. We then get Swerve Strickland. He kind of lays out his plan to get the world title back, and that is just to continue to stack up wins. Kevin Knight then comes in to remind Swerve about his advice. Kevin Knight thinks that he is the current and not just the future, and seemingly wants to have a match with Swerve here pretty soon. Swerve says he's fine with facing him in the future and tells him to go win the trios titles tonight and then come see him about being a main eventer. We then go to Jack Perry. He defeats Anthony Bowens via pinfall, following a second running knee. He'd obviously hit one before that. Ricochet had been on commentary, and Jack Perry kind of chases him to the back after the match. We then go to a video on Hangman Page versus Samoa Joe, obviously building to an eventual match between the two of them. We then go to the Death Riders. They had a run-in with the Don Callis family during between a couple of the matches earlier. So Pac in the promo says, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" Daniel Garcia talks about what it means to be a family, and Jon Moxley says he is the worst thing anyone has ever seen in wrestling, obviously implying that he's a problem for anybody that goes up against him. The way he says that, I don't necessarily disagree with him in some ways, if you know what I'm saying. So, but that's what he said. But he obviously means that he's a problem for anybody that comes in contact with him. And then we get our main event where Hangman Page and Jet Speed defeat the Ops when Knight catches Hobbs with a roll-up, and Hangman and Jet Speed become the new AEW Trios champions. Obviously, they do this because Powerhouse Hobbs is part of the Trios champions, and he is no longer with AEW. He let his contract expire, and we will see where he kind of ends up. The idea is that he will probably end up in WWE, but that nothing's been confirmed or anything like that so far. But obviously, if he's not going to be in AEW, if he's not going to TNA, which I doubt, he's probably going to end up in WWE. So, but as far as best match for Collision, I would go with the main event, the Trios match. The other Trios match with the Don Callis family and Skyflight was also very good, but I would go with Hangman and Jet Speed taking on the Ops as my favorite match for the night. We then go to Genesis. We open with AJ Francis defeating Rich Swann via pinfall following the down payment. We go to the back, and Mike Santana has War Paint on for the night. He has his big Texas death match on. He cuts a promo. He says that he's had the fight of his life on Thursday against Frankie Kazarian to get his championship back, but he lives in the kind of pressure a death match brings, and he sends love to his family and friends, especially his daughter. It means a lot to him. We then have the Secret Service for Order 4 try to attack Elijah before Mustafa Ali and Elijah's match, but it kind of backfires on them. Mustafa Ali then comes out with Tasha Steelz and his Secret Service, uh, and he's able to defeat Elijah when the refs are distracted by his Secret Service, and Tasha Steelz is able to distract Elijah long enough for Ali to nail uh, Elijah with his own guitar. So Mustafa Ali kind of gets a sneaky win there over Elijah. We then go to the system matchup where Eddie Edwards defeats JDC in his final match following a Boston Knee Party. After the match, the system come down to celebrate with JDC. Some of the rest of the roster comes out to kind of applaud him from the entrance area. JDC kind of makes the rounds around ringside, slapping hands and hugging people, and then he takes a final bow from the stage. We then get our next match where Ryan Nemeth wins the intergender match against Mara Sade. He defeats her via pinfall with a rope-assisted roll-up, so he couldn't even defeat her fairly. We then go to the back where Stax and Ariana Grace are. He had a pre-show match where he successfully defended his international title in a four-way, and they kind of point out that Santino doesn't want him to win, didn't want him to retain, so he put him in there with three other guys. Ariana Grace tells Santino to start thinking or he'll lose his job to Daria Ray. We then go to Lei Ying Li. She defeats Zarya via pinfall with a spinning kick and a Warrior's Way. After the match, Zarya shakes Lei Ying Li's hand and gives her the championship. Elena Black then comes out, shows the motion that she wants the championship. So we know that she is obviously coming straight for the title as she has just come in. So we'll see when and if they have that match. We then have the Hardys. They defeat the Righteous when Matt hits the Twist of Fate on Vincent and Jeff follows it with the Swanton. After the match, Dutch gives the Hardys the tag team titles, and he and Vincent smile as they walk up the ramp, obviously implying that they still want to be buddies with the Hardys and that they're not done with their association yet. We then address the X Division title and the title holder, Leon Slater, not being there. Mention it's part of a visa issue. We get some highlights of his match against Carmelo Hayes from SmackDown that we talked about earlier. We get a video from Slater. He apologizes for not being at the last couple of TNA events, but it's out of his control, obviously, and he's doing everything he can to get back. He thanks Joe Hendry for taking a spot tonight in the Triple Threat and promises Moose and Cedric that they will get their shot somewhere down the line. We then get that match, and Joe Hendry defeats Cedric Alexander and Moose when he hits a standing ovation on Cedric Alexander. I don't love that they have the WWE guy come back and beat both of the TNA guys in this situation. Obviously, I think Slater was going to retain the championship between these two. Between the three of them. I mean, so I guess they just kind of went with the guy filling in for the guy who was going to win the match anyways, but doesn't make Alexander look like the strongest contender when the WWE guy can just come in and kind of defeat him pretty soundly. But not my company, and I'm not the booker, so obviously that one's out of my control. So, but I just don't love that. Don't love that booking. We then get Santino. He shows up so we can do some panel predictions for the main event. They're all picking Santana, but Daria Ray comes in to interrupt Tommy Dreamer. Ray says that no one cares about Dreamer's opinion, and we need to just get to the main event and stop wasting time. So she throws to a hype package for the Texas Death Match between Santana and Kazarian. Santana defeats Kazarian in that Texas Death Match when Frankie can't answer the 10 count after a barbed wire assisted spin the block and a 3 count, obviously, but he can't quite make it to his feet for the 10 count. We then get Carlos Silva coming out to present Santana with the championship. Nick Nemeth then raises his arm as he was the guest referee, kind of poses it to each side of the ring. He eventually hits the danger zone and then tries to cash in his trophy. Before the ref can actually get there, though, Santana hits a spin the block on Nick to avoid being cashed in on once again. And then Santana holds the title high and Genesis is over. That match was pretty good again. Like I said, I think it was probably a little better than the TV match, but the Hendry, Alexander, and Moose match was also very good. And I would go with that for a match of the night for Genesis. Not a bad pay-per-view. Some pretty solid matches throughout the card, but a solid way to end the week. But as always, thank you for joining me this week. Thank you for joining me any and every week that you do, and we will see you next week.